A cold evening breeze brushed against the restaurant windows as Olivia Grant, a well-known billionaire and usually the calmest person in any room, walked in with her young son, Ethan. She wanted a quiet dinner, something simple that reminded her of life before the wealth and endless pressure. But the moment she stepped inside, her eyes caught sight of a single dad sitting at a corner table with his little daughter. Their clothes were modest, their smiles warm, and their bond so genuine that it made Olivia pause. Something about them tugged at her heart in a way she hadn't expected. Ethan noticed her staring and gently nudged her hand. "Mom, are you okay?" he whispered. She nodded, but her thoughts were already drifting somewhere deeper. The single dad wasn't doing anything unusual, just helping his daughter cut her food, listening to her excited stories, and laughing with her like she was the most important person in the world. Yet there was a quiet struggle in his eyes, something only a parent who has lived through hard days could recognize. Olivia felt an urge she couldn't explain, a pull she had never felt before. And in the next moment, she made a decision so unbelievable that even she didn't understand why. Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that the single dad's quiet strength was something she had seen before long ago, before her life turned into meetings, interviews, and business deals. As she watched him, she noticed the worn-out wallet he kept checking, the careful way he counted the bill, and the way he made sure his daughter ate enough even though he barely touched his own food. Something about their simple dinner felt more real than anything she had experienced in years. Ethan kept glancing between his mother and the man at the other table. He had never seen her this distracted. Olivia tried to focus on the menu, but her mind kept drifting. Who was he? Why did she feel like she owed him something, even though they had never met? And why did his daughter's bright smile make her chest tighten with a strange mixture of guilt and longing? The waitress passed by the single dad's table, and Olivia noticed the subtle hesitation, the kind a parent shows when they're trying to stay strong despite knowing money is tight. She understood that struggle more than anyone knew. Ethan leaned closer. "Mom, why are you looking at them like that?" he asked softly. Olivia didn't answer. Because deep down, she wasn't sure yet, only that something big was about to unfold, and she wasn't ready for the truth behind that pull she felt. Olivia tried to stay in her seat, but an uneasy feeling kept growing inside her. She finally looked away from the single dad, hoping the tension in her chest would settle, yet it only grew stronger. Memories she had buried for years began pushing their way back, nights when she struggled to raise Ethan alone, long before fortune found her. The contrast between her past and her present left her restless. Meanwhile, Ethan kept stealing small glances at the little girl across the room. She seemed about his age, laughing at something her dad whispered to her. But there was a softness in her eyes, a quiet bravery, like she knew more about hardship than a child ever should. Ethan didn't know why, but he felt a strange connection, as if their worlds were supposed to cross. At the other table, the single dad pretended everything was fine, but his fingers trembled each time he checked the receipt. He hoped his daughter wouldn't notice. She watched him carefully, though kids always sense more than adults think. She squeezed his hand, silently telling him she was okay, even if he wasn't. Olivia's heart clenched at the sight. The feeling was no longer just curiosity. It was recognition and fear. Because if she was right about who he might be and what their past might hold, then the quiet dinner she wanted was about to turn into something far more complicated. Olivia felt her pulse quicken as the single dad stood up to speak with the waitress. His calm voice carried a strain he couldn't hide anymore. She saw him slip a small card from his wallet, probably a discount or an old gift voucher, and the way he hoped it would be enough made her chest tighten. His daughter watched him closely, pretending to sip her water, but her little hands were clenched together, as if she already knew things might not go smoothly. Ethan leaned toward his mother again, sensing the shift in the room. "Mom, something's wrong," he whispered. Olivia didn't respond, but she felt it too. The tension was building around the small family like a quiet storm, and part of her wanted to step in, yet another part held her back, afraid of what she might uncover. The waitress returned, speaking softly, and the dad nodded as if trying to hide disappointment. He forced a smile for his daughter, but Olivia caught the truth in his eyes. It wasn't just a tight budget. It was something deeper, something heavy he had been carrying alone. Then, as he prepared to leave, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope worn, folded too many times, and handled with a care that hinted at its importance. The moment Olivia saw it, her breath caught. She recognized that envelope, or at least, what it meant. Ethan stared at her, confused by her sudden stillness. Olivia didn't blink. She couldn't. Because whatever was inside that envelope was about to change everything, and she wasn't ready for what came next. Olivia's eyes stayed locked on the envelope as the single dad hesitated near the exit. For a moment, he looked as if he might turn back, as if he were gathering the courage to do something he had been putting off for far too long. His daughter tugged gently at his sleeve, sensing his hesitation but not understanding it. He whispered something to her, but his voice trembled, barely holding itself together. Ethan followed his mother's gaze and finally saw the envelope too. "Mom, do you know him?" he asked softly. Olivia didn't answer. She couldn't. Her mind was racing back to a decision she made years ago, a decision she thought would never return to her life. But now it stood 10 feet away, holding a little girl's hand. Before the dad could leave, the restaurant door swung open and a sharply dressed man stepped inside, scanning the room with urgency. His eyes landed on the single dad instantly. The dad stiffened, his grip tightening on the envelope. The man approached with a tense, almost official tone, and the quiet dinner atmosphere shifted into something heavier. Olivia's heart pounded. She recognized that man too, someone connected to her past, someone who knew secrets she had kept buried. Ethan looked between all three adults, confused but sensing danger. Olivia rose from her seat without thinking, unable to stay silent any longer. Because whatever was about to happen, it wasn't just connected to the single dad. It was connected to her. Olivia stepped forward just as the sharply dressed man reached the single dad. The man spoke quickly, his voice low but tense, explaining that he had finally tracked him down. The dad's shoulders sagged, as if he'd been running from this moment for years. Olivia felt her stomach drop. She knew that tone. It was the same tone used when someone came to her years ago with life-changing news she once chose to walk away from. The dad opened the worn envelope with shaky hands. Inside were old documents, a faded letter, and a photo Olivia hadn't seen in almost a decade, one that connected her past to the man standing before her. Ethan watched her face pale as realization struck. The little girl at the dad's side clutched his arm, confused but trusting him completely.